morning, John.
Hi, Ron.
We have John Marola from the New Brighton Christian Assembly. John is here to talk about his school, Empower. John is an ordained minister from Rhema Bible College in Tulsa, Oklahoma. John, it's my pleasure to have you back here at the studio.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yes, we joke about being the Ron and John show, so let's hope that ever happens.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to make sure you had top billing there, Ron and John,
yeah,
rather than John and Ron.
Well, if it becomes your show, it will be the John and Ron show. John, there are several questions that people seemingly ask you, and the one question about your classes and your school of Empower, is the school accredited?
Well, I would answer that by saying yes and no. So what I mean by that is that we have some various programs, and so depending on which program that the student would take, there are some that would be accredited and there are some that would not be accredited. So there are some programs that would lead to an accredited degree, and there are some that would lead to a certificate that would not be accredited. But they're both going to be helpful for personal growth and for just building our faith.
Beautiful. What degree programs are available?
So we have a ministry degree program. So again, we call ourselves a school of ministry, but we use that word ministry in a broad sense. It's not just being a minister, a preacher, or a pastor, but just anything that God's called you to do. We consider that your ministry. That's your active service to God. And so our goal is to help people become empowered, and that's why we go by that name, Empower, to fulfill that call, whatever that might be. So we have a program that you could get a ministry degree if you are interested in vocational ministry. But also we have other programs that you could get a degree in just about anything, just for someone who just wants to just start their career, and maybe they're just searching still, and so maybe they want to take their core classes, their foundational classes, which then they could transfer to another school and maybe take something in education or business or in any other field. But then they would get their foundation from a Christian perspective that would help them get ready to then transfer those credits to further their education later on elsewhere.
That's really beautiful. I don't know too many places that do that. And I think that's one unique thing about Empower, is the empowerment. How long does it take to complete one of these programs?
Right. So each of our programs are built to take 2 years. So we run a 10-month program every year. So it would be 20 months, but I would just say 2 years. So we run normally like September through June, then we're off in July and August, and then we would pick it back up again in September. So it would be a 2-year program, but technically it would be 20 months.
Are there different types of programs, or is there just one program, as you were talking about the layer or the base of maybe, a business, or even if you were going into some type of ministry, are there different types of those programs? Yes,
there are. And so, and again, this is from our desire to appeal to a broader range of people. Again, we call ourselves a ministry school, but that's not to pigeonhole us to say, well, we're only for people who want to be a preacher or a pastor. What we want to do is give people of all kinds access to a program that would help them grow and just become more clear and equipped to do what God's called them to do. So in order to do that, we do have several programs. And so the first one is what we call a leadership development certificate. So that's a non-degree program. So for 2 years, you would come once a month and get leadership coaching, grow as a leader, which then you could apply in any sector. So not just ministry, but in business or in family or in just any profession. And then secondly, we have a ministry degree program, which again, just like it sounds, you would be trained in ministry. So you would be getting that same level of leadership coaching, but then on top of that, you would also be participating in a ministry internship to get some practical ministry experience, and then be trained to then step into some type of a vocational ministry role. And then thirdly, like we were saying earlier, there would be another level where you could just come and get the leadership training and not maybe the ministry training, but you would get the practical faith building. I don't know what to say. I kind of lost my thought there, but you would get the basic educational component to further your education.
I think that's really innovative because I've had a number of conversations with religious leaders, and the call of a minister or a preacher today is really vastly changing, and I think Empower's looking to that, if I'm not mistaken, in the way that, you know, it's not just preaching at the church anymore. It's maybe someone running the finance of the church. Things are becoming so big and so many different facets of the church, from the music, from the the actual service, and all the other programs that go on from a business level to actually run a church. So I see these programs as being so innovative. Was this your thought as well, for the innovation and to allow your church to offer these programs? Because I don't see that there are many of these opportunities out there.
Yeah, well, I'd say that we're a work in progress. We're finishing up our third year now. So we launched in 2016. Our pastor, Sam DeMarco, had this vision to launch a ministry school. And so when I heard about that, I was very excited. And so I mentioned to him that I would like to be part of that. And so we started talking about this. This is probably 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so so then after some time of talking and prayer and just sorting out some details, then I was hired on to go ahead and to launch this school. And so that's what we did 3 years ago. And so this fall will be our 4th year. And so it's been evolving as we go. And so I think that what's happening is that we're realizing that there's a lot of people out there, working adults, who are interested in growing their faith and maybe making a career change, or just maybe being able to find how they could live a better life of influence. So our school did begin as a daytime school, but we've since changed our format. And again, this is going back to what you were saying about being innovative. We just feel that there's been more interest, there's been more need for working adults who are working during the week. So we now meet only on Sundays, and we do our classes then. And so they're able to take classes online at their convenience. So it's like a self-paced online program during the week. And then we meet on Sundays for a face-to-face encounter where we're able to keep them accountable with their work that they have to complete, and also do the coaching and just also give them the practical ministry experiences. So we think that that's been a creative way to do that, to make it fit people's schedules, because not all people are willing or able to stop working and to go to school full time. Mm-hmm. So this kind of program allows people to continue doing what they're doing, working, raising their families, doing the the 9 to 5 kind of thing. But then on the weekends, then they're able to fit in this other training on top of their online training that would fit their own personal schedules.
It's interesting. How much does one of these programs cost? And are people taking several programs at once?
I see. Yeah, so I mean, we aim to keep everything affordable. We're a nonprofit organization, and so we're not trying to make a lot of money off this. This is just really about making this program accessible to as many people as possible. So we've priced our leadership certificate program at $2,000 for the 2-year program, which I think is very affordable, and for the value of what they're getting over the 2-year span. For the degree program, we're asking $4,800. So in a 2-year program for $4,800, you can get the leadership coaching and earn a degree and be equipped for some type of a ministry endeavor at the end of the 2 years.
Wow, that's really great. Does it cost different if you do it online or if you attend the school?
Well, no, the school includes both an online component and a face-to-face component.
Oh, that's great. Do you have to be a church member to
No.
attend the Empower?
No. Yeah, we view our school as a community outreach, as a resource for other churches. And so what we love to do is work with other churches. It's not meant just to be a thing just for our own church membership. Now, granted that since we are rather new, most of our people have come from our own church, but we are branching out and we are getting interest from other churches. And so what we would like to see are other churches, other pastors, other people who are serving in other Christian organizations come to our school, be trained as leaders, because I believe that the church is the hope of the world and leaders are the hope of the church. And so what we want to do is invest in leadership growth, because when the leaders are healthy, the church is healthy. When the church is healthy, we make the world a better place.
What kind of work can a person like me, if I attend Empower, do afterwards? What do you see the outcome or the after effects of attending Empower?
Good question. So certainly ministry for someone who has a desire to be a pastor, be a missionary, be involved in serving children, maybe serving in some other kind of a nonprofit human service organization, but also just about anything. I mean, someone who maybe has a musical gift and they want to write songs, they want to write music, they want to.
You know anybody like that?
A few people, yes. But even nowadays with the modern church, there's a lot of technology that goes on.
Sure.
And so just, even what we're doing here and doing video
Sure.
and doing creative things like that, churches need people like that. And so one of the things that people can get from our program is that they could even participate in a media arts internship and to get some skills to help them be able to do things that are media related. So it's just about anything. So just any way that God has called someone to serve them, there are opportunities out there to be a person of influence in lots of places. And so we're not limited to just serving in the church. I mean, I tell people all the time, there's 168 hours in each week, and we might spend an hour or two in the church. So really that means that the bulk of our ministry should take place not in the church, but outside the church.
Sure.
And so really, if someone feels called to start their own business, to be a teacher, to serve in any capacity, to grow as a leader, to grow in our faith, to be empowered to do what God's called them to do, is going to enable people to do just about anything. And so whenever I say empowered, I think of three things. First of all, is that we have a clear vision of where we want to go and what we want to do. Secondly, that we're doing something that's meaningful and significant to us, that we feel like we're making a difference. And then thirdly, that we feel equipped, that we feel ready, that we feel like we have the skills that are needed to carry out that vision. So I think those are the things that we try to impart to our students so that when they leave after the 2 years, they can feel like they have a clear vision of what God's called them to do. They feel like they're doing something that is meaningful to them, that resonates with them, that is authentic to how they feel God has wired them. And then thirdly, that they're equipped and that they're confident in their ability that God's given them to go ahead and to carry out that ministry.
I think that's beautiful, because it's seemingly that we as a society have really lost a lot of what I call just ethical understanding, how to really truly behave properly. It seems awfully odd that we're talking about this, but I think in more cases than not, most people act because they're not certain of the right way, of the proper path to take. Or in, a lot of classes like ethical behavior or understanding right and wrong, there comes another part of what the Bible or the Lord's message does bring on how to actually act towards a situation. And that translates into any business you could possibly be working in today. Quite frankly, sometimes it's a harder way to go in business, but in the end, it becomes the right way. What should I expect to receive back from Empower if I was in one of these programs?
Well, I think that you would experience personal growth. You'd be challenged and you'd be stretched, because change and growth is always going to be a little bit uncomfortable in some ways. But at the outcome, you'll feel that you've grown. You feel like you've been able to answer some questions. You've been able to confront some issues in your life, and you've been able to maybe overcome some habits that maybe you needed to change. But I think more than anything is that you would feel equipped, is that you would feel empowered, is that you would feel like you have the ability to clarify what God's called you to do and to go out and do it. I feel like I meet people all the time who sense somehow deep down inside that they were made for something significant. But to know what that is and how to do that is just, they have no idea how to get started. And so I feel that most people carry that sense of something in their heart, that they feel like their life has a purpose, their life has a meaning, but they're just not really sure how to tap into that, or how to put that into a practical day-to-day lifestyle. And so that's what we want people to walk away from, is to grow in their character, grow in their confidence of their divine design, because I believe that God calls us to do what he's equipped and prepared us to do. So there is this divine design, I call it, this wiring that God's placed inside of us. And so we need to kind of tap into that and to realize what that is and to maximize those abilities for his service.
I love the fact that you are looking towards helping people find their purpose, the Lord's purpose for them. I think one of the misnomers that happens in this world is that we don't realize that our purpose will change over time. And so for that matter, is there an age limit, or is there an age bracket that you would say?
No. And so that's one of the things that I really like about our school. And you've been there to
Yes.
speak once. And so we have people from what I call all ages and all stages. People right out of high school, people that are in their 60s, and people all in between. So we have 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, people who are married, people who are single, people who have their own business, people who are just getting started, people who know what they feel like they're called to do, people who have no clue what they feel they're called to do. So people from all kind of places. And so I like that, because we can learn from each other, help each other, sharpen each other. It's not just a room full of people who all think and act the exact same way. We're there to bring out the best in each other.
In speaking with that, what does Empower do that's different in the fact that I know the answer to this, so I'm going to ask it anyway, but because our viewers probably wouldn't know this, but from speaking there, I know that there's a various of age groups, but what do you do to individualize your training or program for these individuals? Because obviously if you have a high school student going into college, or a 60-year-old man leaving his first purpose in life to a new purpose in life, how do you divine or design that pathway for them?
Yeah, well, I'd say that there's a difference between what we call mentoring and coaching. And so we try to do both. And so we've built the program to include aspects of both what we would call mentoring and coaching. So the mentoring is more of a one-on-one thing, where we would where each student has monthly meetings with a mentor that they're assigned to. And so in mentoring, the mentor kind of opens up their personal life and just kind of shares some with the student, and they can interact on just some personal experiences, some life lessons, and just to see how those things relate to the student and how they could help them on their journey. So it's more of like a question and answer period, where the person who's mentoring has been down that road already, and so they're able to help the person who wants to go down that road to kind of figure out some things. Whereas the coaching is more constructive, it's more instructive, where just like it sounds like, just with sports, if you have a coach, you have practice, and they
Sure.
watch you do the drills, and they watch you play the game, and so they say, hey, you know what, you need to do this better. You need to change that, and we need to add this. We need to take this off, and so it's more of where the coach can then begin to personalize, because you don't coach every player
Exactly,
the
yes.
same way. Not every player has the same needs. Not every player needs the same thing at the same time. So I think by adding aspects of what we call mentoring and coaching, that we're able to personalize the program and to help bring out the best in each student.
I think that's so important because self-help in so much of an industry is a billion-dollar industry. And to help the viewers understand, if they're out there kind of looking through and they're finding themselves hard to maybe make a decision whether they want to go to the Wayne Dyer or whatever his name is, excuse me, or what they want to attend Empower. I think that's one of the most important ingredients that you do offer, is that individualized self-mentoring. Because as you know, mentoring to me is an enormous part of my life. I have mentors for many years. I have mentors that just became mentors to me. Tell me a little bit about that mentoring program, if you will, because I think that idea of mentoring has been lost, and I love the fact that Empower does that.
Yeah, so I mean, I call our program a hybrid program, meaning that we have a blended learning environment. So we let people use the online classes, so they're able to do things at their convenience in a self-paced fashion. But we don't feel that like that's going to be a way to completely replicate or duplicate the face-to-face encounters. So we want to give people the opportunity to get the best of both worlds. So they're able to do the online classes, but also we do bring people together on the weekends, and we have those face-to-face encounters where we're able to keep people accountable and to ask questions and to dig into some character issues and to see what they need to be praying about, see what they need to be changing in their lives, because we're all called to different things, but yet we're all called to follow Christ. So we don't just ask people to just only follow their calling as far as their vocation, their ministry, but also to follow the call to follow Christ and to try to emulate and to imitate his character. So when we mentor, we have scheduled meetings that we meet with each student monthly, at least, if not more, as needed. And so those will just be one-on-one times where we're able to walk people through some questions that maybe people wouldn't ask of themselves. It seems easier for people to lie to themselves than it is to lie to other people. And so one thing I think that a good mentor does is ask good questions, questions that are thought-provoking and questions that will cause the student to deal with some things in their lives that are going to help them to grow and to become what they want to be. So we don't just, excuse me, we don't just sit around and just talk about anything. We have a guided program where we have certain questions that we ask during those mentoring sessions, and we keep notes and we track their progress, because we're trying to get them to achieve a certain outcome, a certain goal, and so that's to be more like Christ.
That's beautiful and well answered, by the way. In the spirit of that mentoring and knowing that people are going to go through difficult times, or if you're looking at the Anthony Robbins $10,000 type of, or yours as a nonprofit, do you guys have things set up for maybe some kind of financing or self-help in the financial end of the programs?
Right, and that's something that we are often asked is how to pay for the program, and so the part of our program that is accredited is eligible for people to apply for federal financial aid. The part that's not accredited will not be eligible for federal aid. So for those programs, what we're working on currently is to build a system of donors and some personal private scholarship funds that people can tap into. And then also what we're doing is that we're also building a mission trip into every school year. So at the end of the school year, then everyone can go on a mission trip. And so we have fundraising activities that will take place to help raise finances for the mission trip. So so we're building a fundraising base and a donor base so we can have some scholarship funds to help underwrite the cost of the school.
When you talk about the school, I'm so happy that we're putting these kind of things online, because it is in a progressive way to really get the Lord's message out. When people come to you and they're really interested in coming to the school, is there a preliminary place that these people can come to kind of, put a hands on to the school, to see the school in action? Is there, like most colleges, you go over and you go walk through the school with some kind of mentor walking through the school? Is there some kind of program for people to really see Empower and put their hands around them?
Sure. I wouldn't call it a program per se, but when we have people who are interested, I always invite them to come at least one night and just to sit in on a class, just to kind of get a feel for how things happen and just, what a typical night would be like. And so we've had people do that. And so people who do, they're always blessed, they're always enriched, and they always get more out of it than they expected. So it's not like a program per se, but we're happy to schedule a visit, and someone can come on site and just be part of a evening that we have classes for either part of it or for the entire evening. And so we're happy to do that.
Are they also accessible to maybe the syllabus of maybe a semester or something like that? Is that available somewhere online?
Yes, we have a website, empowernbca.com, and so on the site there are course descriptions, and you can get more information about the curriculum there.
And so I'm online, I'm going through this, and I see, hey, I might like this curriculum, but I'm not sure about this. Who would I call, or how would I go about finding out a little bit more information?
Right. Well, I would be the main contact. I'm the director of the school, and I oversee the school operations. And so anything that has to do with the school, I would be the main contact. So on the website, there's my email, there's a phone number. And so either of those ways they can contact me, or we're on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. So there's various ways for people to contact us.
If they wanted to look up Empower, is it still Empower, EMPOWER, NBCA.com?
Correct, yeah. And so the NBCA is for New Brighton Christian Assembly. So yes, it's empowernbca.com. And
for those of you who might be in the New Brighton area, I think that the church services I attended, the Easter service, was amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about New Brighton Christian Assembly?
Sure. It's been in the area for, I think, nearly 100 years. And so it's part of a church network called the IFCA, which is the International Fellowship of Christian Assemblies. So we're a spirit-filled church, a family church, very, very friendly church. And so we're of the Pentecostal charismatic persuasion. And so we have a lot of vibrant worship and dynamic teaching and a great family and children and youth ministry. And so this school grew out of that desire to reach our community and just to be a resource to the people in the area.
Obviously progressive, because you're here doing this on video and trying to reach out to the people. What is your email, just to make time easy for the listener, perhaps?
Sure, and it's just like our website, empowernbca@gmail.com.
Okay, so that anybody could just say, hello, John.
Sure.
And that's it, okay? Well, great. This has been a wonderful program to be able to sit and have time with you, John. I can't wait for the next time. And I thank you for you and a lot of people like yourself who are out there trying to send out the Lord's message in all different ways to people to access it.
Yes, I believe that the message about the gospel is very urgent, and I think that God is really accelerating His efforts to reach out in these days and times. And so we're just happy to be part of His service, and always happy to be part of the Ron and John show.
Absolutely. I think Empower is also so critically important because it allows people that we see every day, our political leaders, our corporate leaders, our family leaders, and certainly our social leaders. All of us can use a big dose of Empower. And I'm so proud to be able to be part of your program, and I hope you come back and see us again.
Thank you, Ron. Sure will.
Take care.